Chapter 21 Test. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Arriving at the soul fighting platform in the square, Yu walked up directly, and Oscar naturally followed closely behind. Arriving on the soul fighting stage, Yu's cold voice continued, "I promised Brother Fu, if you can pass my test, then I will stay in Shrek for 5 years. During these 5 years, I will your kendo teacher." When Oscar heard this, he bowed to Yu and said, "I would like to thank my senior here in advance. If you have any tests for me, please feel free to come. Oscar will do his best." Looking at Oscar, a polite and confident child, Yu seemed to think that this trip might be the right choice, but whether the child in front of him is as talented as Flanders said depends on whether the child can pass his own test. At this time, several heads popped out from the distance, and Hongjun asked Flanders, "Teacher, why have I never heard of Senior Yu? Can he really teach Ao Gukendo?" Hearing his apprentice's suspicious tone, Flanders gave Hongjun a scalp. "When I met him, your kid wasn't even born yet. Can you know him?" Zhao Wuji chuckled at the side and explained, "Brother Yu, we met when the boss and I led a team to hunt soul beasts. During that time, the college really had no money, so the boss and I took some jobs. Brother Yu had just broken through level 60 back then. He was younger than us at that time, but he broke through to Soul Emperor level earlier than us. But at that time, I didn't know why he was so talented but was alone." Hongjun was also smart and said directly, "So at that time, Senior Yu was hunting the 6th soul ring alone. Was he encountered by the teacher and you?" Flanders nodded at this time. "Yes, Brother Yu's talent is better than mine and Lao Zhao, but at that time he had just broken through level 60, but he was besieged by 3,000-year-old soul beasts alone, one of which the 10,000-year soul beast has even reached the 30,000-year level, and even if Lao Zhao and I join forces, we may not be our opponents. He was already seriously injured when we met him. We didn't intend to meddle in his own business. After all, the situation was indeed critical." Hongjun asked at the right time, "Then how did you meet?" Hearing this question, Flanders suddenly blushed, and Zhao Wuji smiled and said, "Brother Yu also noticed us at that time, so he offered us 50,000 gold soul coins to rescue him. At that time, the college had no money. Flanders, this guy, takes action as soon as his brain gets hot." Hearing this, Hongjun glanced at Flanders and felt that this was the right thing. With the teacher's character, only money could make him take action regardless of the danger. At that time, we were trying to protect a soul master who had just cultivated to level 50 to obtain the 5th soul ring. We had already completed the task, but we couldn't bear that Yu gave him too much, so the boss and I teamed up with our employer to take action. When we took action, we discovered that 2 of the 3 10,000-year-old soul beasts, which were more than 10,000 years old, had been seriously injured. Although the 30,000-year-old soul beast was not seriously injured, our 2 soul beasts were not seriously injured. The intervention of the Emperor and a Soul King also made the other party retreat in the face of difficulties. Hearing this, Hongjun and Xiao Xian looked at Yu, who was face to face with Oscar on the soul fighting stage, with incredulous expressions. "This Yu is so powerful, he has just broken through level 60 and is able to severely injure 2 of the 3,000-year-old soul beasts when facing them at the same time. There is really nothing to say about this talent and strength," Zhao Wuji continued. "After a great battle, we rescued Brother Yu and got the reward. However, Brother Yu was seriously injured at that time, so we took care of him for a while. Later he found out that the boss and I also took jobs to help others hunt for soul rings, so after he recovered from his injuries, we helped him hunt for his 6th soul ring. After getting along with each other for a few months, we learned about his life experience. Originally, the boss wanted to recruit him to join Shrek, but he only wanted to improve his strength and take revenge, so they broke up in the end. However, he also contacted me and the boss to help him hunt for his 7th soul ring, so this can be regarded as a deep friendship. However, I did not expect that he would come out of the mountain." Flanders chuckled at this time and showed a wise look. "It doesn't matter who I am, I will take action personally. Brother still gives me face, but whether he can stay depends on Xiao Ao himself." And just when Flanders and Zhao Wuji were explaining Yu to everyone, Guy Yu on the Soul Fighting stage also said to Oscar, "The most important thing in practicing swordsmanship is the heart, so my assessment is also very simple." Hearing this, Oscar nodded slightly. Judging from the other party's words, he knew that this Guy Yu was definitely not an ordinary person. Guy Yu said, "But although character is important, I also need to see your strength. Next, you attack me with all your strength, but let me see your strength first." Oscar did not hesitate. After Guy Yu finished speaking, Oscar slowly raised his left hand. The azure light condensed, and a jade sword with a length of 1 meter and 2 meters was already in his hand. When Guy Yu saw this scene, his expression was a little more expectant. Before arriving, Flanders had already told him that Oscar did not have a sword spirit, but a jade sword that could condense the spirit of a weapon spirit of the same level. This kind of external soul bone skill is very rare. It not only gives Oscar additional fighting ability, but also has very high plasticity. Oscar held the jade sword in his hand, his calf instantly exerted force, and he stabbed Guy Yu's face with the jade sword in his hand. For more than 2 months, although Oscar had a teacher teach him swordsmanship, he also figured out some tricks himself. Facing Oscar's attack, Guy Yu did not release his martial spirit. He only saw the index and middle fingers of his right hand come together, and then turned into a meter-long ice blue sword energy. Point together to form a sword. Oscar was a little surprised when he saw this scene. After all, being able to do this has proved the opponent's swordsmanship. The jade sword in Oscar's hand kept thrusting, picking, spinning, and slashing. Guy Yu did not take the initiative to attack, but kept feeding Oscar moves, because he really wanted to test Oscar's sword skills. During the battle, Guy Yu was surprised that although Oscar did not use soul skills, the attack power of his sword was far superior to that of weapon soul masters of the same level, and this is also true. Because when using the azure jade sword, Oscar's attack and strength will be directly increased by 50%. This is like a passive one. As long as he uses the attached soul bone, he will get a bonus. In addition, the azure jade sword has cutting properties. Even if Oscar does not have any offensive soul skills, the attack power of his azure jade sword is far superior among weapons and souls of the same level. The two fought against each other for 30 rounds, and Oscar knew that the other party had a clear understanding of his melee capabilities, so Oscar's last sword hit Guy Yu's finger sword, and he took advantage of the force and retreated 10 meters. Then he gently tossed the jade sword in his hand, and the entire jade sword turned into 10 rays of azure light. Under the stimulation of Oscar's soul power, it turned into 10 1-meter-long jade swords. Go! The 10 jade swords instantly locked onto Guy Yu's face, heart, and limbs. Following Oscar's soul power, 10 jade swords shot out. Seeing this move, Guy Yu's eyes lit up. He never thought that Oscar, who was only at level 23, could actually possess such a large-scale attack method. Moreover, Oscar's attack was not simply condensing sword energy, but an attack formed by condensing pure soul power. However, attacks of this level did not pose any threat to Guy Yu. His finger sword was lightly swept, and a cold sword energy flew out, directly killing all the attacks from Oscar and turning them into ice crystals. Fell to the ground. Although you don't have a sword spirit, you only have some basic skills in swordsmanship. But you have a good foundation and your strength is not weak. If a weapon spirit master of the same level faces you, you have a greater chance of winning. Guy Yu said without hesitation. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me monthly. Come and count your votes, please. If you are interested in this book, please leave comments and suggestions. Chapter 22 Passing the Test. You are listening at MTnovel. Oscar's strength and talent are beyond the limit, and Guy Yu can actually see some of this in Oscar's words. After all, this 9-year-old child is too mature. However, Guy Yu also had his own ideas. Oscar took back the azure spirit jade sword, took out a super recovery sausage that he had stored before and ate it, and his soul power continued to recover. Oh, by the way, one thing needs to be explained, that is, when Oscar uses his soul skills, the effect is not halved like in the original work. Perhaps this is the benefit of being a time traveler, and Oscar is quite speechless about this setting in the original work, because in the early stage of the original work, it was said that Oscar's effect of taking sausages by himself would be halved, but in the later stage it was not mentioned again, and taking it by himself was still as powerful as before, in the original work. When Oscar himself took the sixth soul skill, Zhao Huhua Cat Mirror Intestine, the effect was not reduced by half. Instead, it gave him the strength of an attack-type soul master. No, more than that, because of this soul skill, Oscar directly became an almighty soul master. However, due to his physical condition, he was not able to fully exert the effect of some powerful martial souls, but now Oscar won't. If he now possesses this soul skill, he will not only be able to display his strength perfectly, but it is also possible that he will be even more powerful than his original self because of his own strength, but these are all things for later. The current Oscar is only level 23, so it is too far to think about these things. Feeling Oscar's soul power recovering quickly, Guy Yu couldn't help but ask, "Is this your soul skill?" Oscar nodded. "My martial spirit is of the food system, and the effect of the first soul skill is recovery." After using the first soul skill, a soul master who takes the super recovery sausage can continuously restore soul power, physical strength, soul power and mental strength. Hearing Oscar's introduction, Guy Yu was shocked again. Although he spent most of his time practicing behind closed doors, he also had a certain understanding of food-based soul masters. This is the first time he has heard that a soul skill can have such comprehensive abilities, and judging from the recovery of Oscar's soul power, the effect of his first soul skill is definitely not bad. After a moment of serious expression, Guy Yu said slowly, "Your soul skills are indeed good, but my next test is the most important. Whether you can persist or not depends on you." Then Guy Yu slowly raised his right hand, spread his fingers, and the majestic soul power spread out from his body and condensed in the palm of his hand. Then a big hand formed by invisible soul power shrouded Oscar. The moment he was enveloped by Guy Yu's soul power, Oscar felt a pressure. This pressure was probably around level 20, but Oscar's physical fitness was now close to the soul sect level, so he had no reaction to this pressure. In addition to this pressure, Oscar also felt a special cold breath. This cold breath was different from the cold in winter, but as if he were in the ice and snow, like rootless duckweed. The surrounding environment became bitingly cold, and along with this icy breath came Guy Yu's icy voice, "Relax your mind. If you can persist for a quarter of an hour, then you are qualified." Hearing this, Oscar slowly closed his eyes. He knew that this should be Guy Yu's test, so it must not be as simple as what he felt on the surface. At this moment, the surprise in Guy Yu's eyes was highlighted again, because he discovered that Oscar, as a food-based soul master, was extremely physically strong. He had already been surprised when he had just tested Oscar's strength. Now he directly released the level 20 soul power pressure corresponding to the level of an attack-type battle soul master, but he found that Oscar's expression remained unchanged. You must know that when a soul master can withstand the pressure of soul power from a high-level soul master, a soul master who can withstand 2/3 of his own level is already extremely talented. If he can equal his own soul power level, then he is definitely a top genius, and this must be done by a soul master with a top-level attack-type martial soul. Although Guy Yu didn't know why Oscar, a food-based soul master, was so perverted, his inner satisfaction with Oscar had exceeded the limit. Even if Oscar fails his test, he can't help but stay and teach such a super genius how to practice swordsmanship, which may be an honor for him. It's an honor to teach such a super genius. Of course, for Oscar to have such a talent, Guy Yu sees absolutely no problem with his character, otherwise Oscar would never have achieved such an achievement. Oscar, who had closed his eyes, felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. A special coldness penetrated his body from the outside to the inside, making him completely unable to resist. As his body continued to withstand the cold, Guy Yu began to gradually increase the pressure of his soul power. He wanted to see where Oscar's limit was. Oscar, who was enduring all this, began to change his expression at this time. From what he felt, the temperature of his body was gradually decreasing, while the pressure from the outside world continued to increase, giving him the feeling of hypoxia on a cold plateau. Gradually, I don't know how much time passed, Oscar's face began to turn red, and frost was condensing on his body surface. Every breath seemed to exhale a long breath of ice. At this time, the look of satisfaction on Guy Yu's face became more and more obvious. He never thought that Oscar could persist to this point. A quarter of an hour has passed by now, but Oscar still hasn't reached his limit. And the soul pressure that Oscar endured has reached the terrifying level 38. You know, Oscar is only level 23, this kind of genius had never been heard of by Guy Yu before. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes and tested it for himself, Guy Yu would never have believed that there was such a genius in this world, and Guy Yu was very satisfied with Oscar's character. His test was simple, but it was definitely difficult, because this was his family's special testing method. Even he could only persist for a quarter of an hour, and a quarter of an hour is not as simple as just passing. This is already an extremely outstanding existence. The reason why Guy Yu told Oscar before that he had to persist for a quarter of an hour before he was qualified was because Oscar's talent was too strong and he only wanted to test it, but Guy Yu didn't expect that Oscar would persist for so long, and he hadn't reached his limit yet. At this time, Hongjun, who was secretly watching this scene not far away, whispered to Flanders, "Teacher, you see that Brother Ao is covered in ice, is there no problem?" Flanders has been paying attention to Oscar's changes. In fact, he is also a little worried in his heart. After all, everyone is frozen. You can imagine how much ice Oscar has endured, and it is even more painful than cold. It's just that he trusts Guy Yu and believes that this younger brother he has known for more than 10 years will not do anything beyond his control. Flander patted Ma Hongjun on the shoulder and comforted him. "Don't worry, Brother Guy knows what's appropriate." Time passed slowly, and soon another 5 minutes passed. Oscar's soul pressure at this time had reached level 39, his silver hair had turned into frost, and his exposed hands were also covered in frost. When the soul power pressure continued to rise and was about to break through level 40, Oscar's eyes suddenly opened. The soul power surged on his body and shattered the ice on his body. Azure light bloomed in his left hand, 1 meter long. The jade sword was already in his hand, and his body was filled with precious light. I saw a flash of light in Oscar's eyes, and he took a long breath, as if spitting out all the coldness. "Senior, how are you?" Oscar looked at Guy Yu and asked softly. Guy Yu nodded with satisfaction, "Yes. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me monthly." Chapter 23 Contra. You are listening at MaleProtagonist. Guy Yu's expression at this time did not hide the slightest, and his satisfaction with Oscar was beyond words. Even though he only answered one word, he was excited inside. At this moment, he was like a nouveau riche who had found a treasure, and he had no reason to be unhappy, being able to teach such a genius, not to mention that Oscar may help him in the future. Even in the process of teaching, he himself will have a different experience, because he can be regarded as a genius to some extent. Geniuses teach geniuses. Minute Maid. Oscar was also full of admiration for Guy Yu at this time, because in the test just now, it seemed that Guy Yu just extended a hand to him and made him freeze, but in fact it was far more than that, because he seemed to be in another special world just now, facing endless pressure and the threat of death. As long as his thoughts were even slightly relaxed, he would not be able to persist for so long. It was almost the first time for Oscar to experience this feeling, which gave him a different kind of mood improvement. But now that he has received Guy Yu's approval, Oscar knelt down and bowed to him. "Disciple Oscar, hello." This is not an exaggeration. As the saying goes, once you are a teacher, you will always be a father. From now on, Guy Yu will be his kendo teacher, so he can bear this honor. But before Oscar's knees even touched the ground, a majestic soul force lifted him up, and Oscar looked at Guy Yu in surprise. Is he unwilling to accept his apprenticeship? Have you not passed the test yet? Just when Oscar was confused, Guy Yu's cold voice had already sounded. A man has gold under his knees, so he must kneel to the sky and kneel to his parents. From now on, you and I will treat each other as master and disciple, but forget about the ceremony of kneeling, just bow. After hearing this, Oscar finally let go of his worries. He thought Guy Yu hadn't recognized him yet. Only then did Oscar remember that no one in this world seemed to be kneeling down to become a disciple. In the original work, Tang San was like this when he was apprenticed to the master Yu Shaojiang. He knelt down and was beaten by Yu Shaojiang. After all, with Yu Shaojiang's strength, there was no time to stop him. Oscar was facing Guy Yu, who was at least as strong as Soul Saint, so he had no chance to kneel down. Oscar stood up straight again, cupped his hands and bowed 90 degrees to Guy Yu and said, "Disciple Oscar, pay your respects to the teacher." Guy Yu solemnly helped Oscar up, from today on, Oscar, you are my direct disciple of Gaiyu. I will teach you all I have learned in my life. How much you can learn depends on your own understanding. When Oscar heard this, a sweet smile appeared on his handsome face, because he noticed a detail. The teacher did not mention the 5 years mentioned before, but instead taught everything. What does this mean? It represents the teacher's recognition of him as his apprentice, and at the moment when the master and the apprentice became apprentices, Flanders and Zhao Wuji came over from a short distance away. Ma Hongjun shouted loudly, "Brother Ao, are you hungry?" "I'm going to be hungry." Died, that when Oscar heard Ma Hongjun's voice, he turned his head and gave Ma Hongjun a helpless look, and said softly to Gaiyu, "Teacher, you have just arrived at the academy, and I am here to greet you. Teacher Xiao has prepared a lot of delicious food today." When Gaiyu heard this, a smile appeared on his cold face. "Today is your birthday, and you are the protagonist." As he spoke, Gaiyu saw a flash of light on his right wrist, and he raised his hand and pulled out a jade box. "I accept you as my disciple today, and it happens to be your birthday. I haven't prepared too many gifts, so I'll just combine these 2 gifts into one. I will replenish you as a teacher in the future." Hearing this, Oscar's face lit up with joy. The gift was obviously prepared in advance, but the teacher probably didn't know that today was his birthday, so the teacher was already mentally prepared when he came. Thinking of this, Oscar couldn't help but think of how that old man Flanders deceived the teacher. Oscar took it directly without being polite. "Thank you, teacher." Flanders also shouted at this time, "Let's go. Today is the best of both worlds. Eat something warm quickly. I've been freezing to death in the extreme north for the past half-month." Then Gaiyu was not polite. Since he accepted Oscar as his disciple, he naturally wanted to stay, so he also wanted to integrate into Shrek as soon as possible, and followed Flanders towards the canteen. Oscar put the jade box into the soul guide and did not check it in person. He just followed the teachers to the cafeteria. It is now noon, and all kinds of delicacies have been prepared by Xiao Xian, just waiting for Oscar, the birthday boy, to start. Today, Oscar officially turns 9 years old, and at this age, his soul power has reached the terrifying level 23, which is the most worthy of celebration by everyone at Shrek. In the middle of the journey, Flanders and the teachers from Shrek Academy also prepared birthday gifts for Oscar. Although they were not too expensive, they were indeed thoughtful. At the dinner table, Oscar sat next to Gaiyu and couldn't help but ask, "Teacher, although it may be a bit abrupt to ask this, can I know your strength?" Yes, Oscar really wants to know Gaiyu's true strength, and Ma Hongjun has been teasing him next to Oscar, asking him to ask. The reason why Ma Hongjun was like this was because when he asked Flanders before, Flanders was unwilling to tell, and Zhao Wuji hadn't seen Gaiyu for several years, so he didn't know. In addition to Ma Hongjun, Xiao Xian, Li Yusong and Lu Qibin also wanted to know Gaiyu's strength. After all, Flanders and Zhao Wuki had said that Gaiyu's talent was above them, and since Gaiyu is now willing to stay at Shrek, it means that Gaiyu is also a part of their big family, and it is reasonable for them to be curious. When Gaiyu faced Oscar's question, he didn't try to hide anything. After all, he had decided to stay, so he naturally had to blend in. Gaiyu unhurriedly picked up a chicken leg and put it into Oscar's bowl, and then said calmly, "I just reached level 82 a month ago." After hearing this answer, not to mention Oscar himself, even Zhao Wuji looked at Gaiyu in surprise. After all, he had the most contact with Flanders and Gaiyu, so he was naturally the most shocked by Gaiyu's breakthrough. After all, Zhao Wuji, who is 2 years older than Gaiyu, is only at level 74 now. According to the previous descriptions of Flanders and Zhao Wuji, Gaiyu's soul power level was not as high as the two of them more than 10 years ago. Now it's actually Contra. And Zhao Wuji is only 47 years old now. Does this mean that Gaiyu broke through Contra at the age of 45? This talent can definitely be called a genius. After all, not everyone is as defiant as Tang Hao, who broke through the title Douluo level at the age of 44, 45 years old and 82 years old. This person definitely has the talent to attack the title Douluo, and may even go further on the title Douluo road. At this time, Flanders said with a mysterious face, "It's not just as simple as level 82. Brother Guy's 8th soul ring this time was hunted by himself." Flanders originally planned to continue talking, but considering that it was related to Guy Yu's privacy, he hesitated and looked at Guy Yu. Guy Yu didn't want to hide this, and said openly, "Brother Fu, tell me, it will just let the teachers and Xiao Ao get to know me." After receiving Guy Yu's affirmation, Flanders continued, "When Guy Yu told me about it, I was a little unbelievable. His 8th spirit ring was a 70,000-year-old beast that he hunted alone. He obtained a soul beast, and also exploded a 70,000-year-old torso bone, so Brother Guy directly broke through to level 82 after absorbing the soul rings and soul bones." Speaking of this, Flanders was still a little emotional. "Well, we have known each other for almost 20 years. Lao Zhao and I have watched Brother Guy surpass us little by little. This guy's talent is simply too strong. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me monthly. Brother, cute and reading." Chapter 24 The Origin of Guy Yu. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Everyone present was shocked when they heard Flanders' words, not to mention the fact that a 70,000-year-old trunk bone was exploded. Just relying on level 80 soul power to kill a 70,000-year-old soul beast alone is enough to prove Guy Yu's strength, because normally, spirit beasts of the same level are slightly stronger than spirit masters. A 70,000-year-old spirit beast requires at least an 8-ring spirit Douluo to kill it alone, and with the quasi-spirit strength of 7 spirit rings, Guy Yu was able to kill a 70,000-year-old spirit beast alone, so there was no doubt about his strength. Let's talk about soul bones. The rarity of soul bones can be said to be rare in the Soul Master world for decades. Even a piece of the lowest 1,000-year soul bone, a 100-year soul bone is too low-level and basically difficult to produce, can cause a bloody storm, and Guy Yu actually obtained a 70,000-year-old trunk bone. So with the addition of the 8th soul ring and a 70,000-year-old trunk bone, to what extent will Guy Yu's strength be improved? And before, Xiao Xian and the others only thought that Guy Yu had a high possibility of breaking through to the title Douluo realm, but now after hearing Flanders' words, they felt that Guy Yu would definitely be able to break through to the title Douluo level, and when Xiao Xian and the others had this idea, Zhao Wuji was the one who was most excited and envious, because only he and Flanders knew that Guy Yu still had a 10,000-year-old soul bone in his body, which was his family heirloom soul bone. Something that was originally extremely rare in the Soul Master world. Now Guy Yu suddenly had 2 pieces of it, and one of them was as old as 70,000 years old. He, Lao Zhao, has lived for almost 50 years, and he still doesn't get this kind of treatment. If Guy Yu hadn't been a good brother whom he recognized, Lao Zhao would have even wanted to kill someone and take their bones. Of course, this was a joke. After all, Guy Yu was able to make Flanders say it. Exposing his soul bones in front of Flanders and Zhao Wuji was also a sign of trust in the two of them. There is nothing to hide now. In addition to Guy Yu's confidence in his own strength, another thing is his trust in his 2 elder brothers, of course, because Flanders and Zhao Wuji would get together with Guy Yu every few years. Guy Yu also learned about Xiao Xian and the others from their mouths, so he still had this trust in Shrek. At this time, even Oscar, a time traveler, was extremely surprised by this. After all, a teacher who had never appeared in the original work actually had such talent and luck. You know, soul bones are not a piece of cabbage. In the original work, there are so many titled Douluo in Wuhuan Palace. How many of them have soul bones? Especially Ju Douluo, one of Bibi Dong's Henga generals, and a 95th level Super Douluo, did not obtain a soul bone. If before, Oscar only felt that he was lucky to have a teacher to teach kendo, then now he was excited. Apart from anything else, judging from the strength and talent of his teacher, he will definitely be able to cultivate to the realm of titled Douluo in the future. So isn't this a leg up for him? Needless to say about Ma Hongjun at this time, his teacher Flanders is only level 76 and has no soul bones. Not to mention how much he envies Oscar now. In the face of everyone's surprise, Guy Yu just smiled and waved his hand, but his cold face did not look very good when he smiled, because it was a bit like a fake smile. Of course, that's not to say that Guy Yu is not good looking. On the contrary, Guy Yu is quite handsome. Although his ice blue robe is simple, he looks a bit aloof. I heard Guy Yu laugh and say, "It's not worth mentioning. I'm just lucky." Hearing this, Zhao Wuji's face darkened. Brother Guy, it's wrong to be so humble. How lucky are you? I told you that your talent will surpass that of me and Flanders. I just didn't expect this day to come so quickly. Zhao Wuji said, with a hint of helplessness on his dark face, I am only level 74 now, and you are already level 82, but you have completely left me behind. Flender also smiled helplessly. Who knows that Brother Guy is so talented and diligent in training? It's normal that we can't compete. After Flanders finished speaking, Zhao Wuji raised his glass directly. Come and have a drink, I wish Brother Guy a great improvement in strength. All the teachers raised their glasses together. Oscar and Ma Hongjun also raised their glasses, and Oscar also said, Congratulations, teacher. Oscar and Ma Hongjun also drank. After all, although one was 9 years old and the other was 7 years old, as soul masters, they developed much faster than ordinary people. In addition, this wine is just ordinary malt liquor, and it is not very intoxicating when drunk, so the two children also raised their glasses and drank it. After the meal, everyone chatted for more than an hour. After all, Guy Yu had just joined Shrek. Apart from Flanders and Zhao Wuji, even Oscar, as a disciple, didn't know much about him, so most of the chat was it's all common with Guy Yula. It was also during the chat that Oscar learned the identity of the teacher. Guy Yu was born in a large sect in the Star Luo Empire. However, decades ago, the sect had a conflict with the current Fengjian sect, and the Guy Yu sect of that generation happened to be in decline. The sect leader Galen, also known as Guy Yu, his grandfather was only at level 85, and the leader of the Wind Sword sect was at level 89 at that time, only one step away from the title Douluo. Because of the huge strength gap, in the conflict for the second sword spirit in the world, his sect was destroyed. Only Guy Yu and the entire sect escaped. Guy Yu even watched his grandfather peel off the sect's inherited soul bone from his body and give it to him, so from then on he practiced hard alone and was bound to take revenge. Now his strength has reached level 82, but he has no urge to take revenge now, because he knows that even with his current strength, it is impossible to take down the entire Fengjian sect. What's more, the current Fengjian sect is one of the lower 4 sections. Guy Yu has been sharpening his sword for decades, so he will naturally be killed with one blow, so it is naturally impossible to be impulsive. After all, even the Wind Sword sect doesn't know that he is still alive. He only needs to wait until he breaks through the title Douluo and truly possesses the strength to sweep across the Wind Sword sect, and then directly destroys the whole family of the Wind Sword sect to take revenge. And Guy Yu is now able to tell this experience to everyone, not because he is relieved, but because it is used to motivate himself. Of course, most people would definitely not be willing to talk about this kind of experience. It was just because Flanders drank too much and accidentally wanted to use Guy Yu's experience to inspire Oscar and Ma Hongjun, so he couldn't help but tell it. But Guy Yu didn't stop him midway, and only then did everyone learn about Guy Yu's experience. Oscar gently patted the back of the teacher's hand and offered a glass of wine. Teacher, you are no longer alone. You still have us. As long as you need it, Oscar is absolutely obligated. Oscar's words came from the bottom of his heart. Although he had never experienced the hatred between Guy Yu and Fengjian sect, and Fengjian sect did not do anything to him, he had killed nearly 1,000 members of the teacher's entire sect, even the children. Didn't let go. Oscar felt cruel just hearing it. Now that he and Guy Yu had a master-disciple relationship, he naturally wanted to avenge his teacher. It's just that Guy Yu took Oscar's wine, put the cup on the table after drinking, and smiled slightly. Silly boy, this is the teacher's own family feud. What does it mean for a child to get involved? Oscar wanted to say something else, but was interrupted by Guy Yu. Your future task is to integrate what I teach. The teacher will solve the matter of revenge by himself. Flender also sighed at this time and said to Oscar, Xiao Ao, although you are Brother Guy's disciple now, it is really difficult for you to intervene in this matter, because even Lao Zhao and I said we would help him. He refused them all. Brother Guy's temper is the same as yours, and even 10 cows can't get him back from what he decided. Hearing this, Oscar glanced at the teacher he had just recognized with some distress. Noticing Oscar's concerned eyes, Guy Yu glanced at him and touched Oscar's little head. Don't worry, teacher is not an impulsive person. I have endured it for so many years. Before I had absolute strength, I won't take action. Otherwise, I won't be able to avenge you, but I'll be giving soul bones to others. Hearing the last sentence, Hongjun, who was about to cry when he heard the story, suddenly laughed and said to himself that although teacher Guy looked cold, he could still tell jokes. Oscar couldn't help but smile. Teacher, just have your own plan. Please collect, recommend and vote for me monthly. Happy New Year, cute duck brothers, please support me with your monthly votes. Chapter 25, Sparring and Practicing Swordsmanship. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. After listening to stories all afternoon, and finally hearing Guy use cold jokes, Zhao Wookie decided to heat up the place and directly took Oscar with him to start eating. In fact, it was just to beat him, but Lao Xiaomei called it a test, so a group of people watched Oscar perform swordplay in the yard in front of the cafeteria, but Oscar was too weak now and couldn't even break through Zhao Wuji's bare hair. So he finally had to ask the teacher to take action. I saw Oscar panting from being played by Zhao Wuji, and then he came to the teacher's side, hugged the teacher's thigh and complained, "Teacher, you have seen how I was bullied by old man Zhao before you came. You have to let the students make the decision." Oscar started playing directly, which made the listener sad and the listener shed tears. Flanders on the side was a little speechless. Why did he feel that Oscar was more shameless than when he was young? Zhao Wuji became even more unhappy after hearing this. Teacher Zhao when there is something wrong, old man Zhao when there is nothing. But what Zhao Wuji didn't expect was that Guy Yu, who should have been extremely cold in his eyes, stood up after saying to Oscar that he would solve it himself. I saw Guy Yu touching Oscar's head and said calmly, "I will vent my anger for you, my teacher." Seeing this scene, Flanders, who was still thinking that Oscar was shameless, suddenly spat out a mouthful of wine. He thought he had heard wrongly. When did Brother Guy take the initiative to play with his children? Didn't they just become disciples at noon? Is love stronger than gold now? No, this idiom is inappropriate to use here. It should be that you have just known each other for less than half a day, and you already have a master-disciple relationship. Then Guy Yu stood up slowly, patted Oscar on the head, and said lightly to Zhao Wuji, "Brother Zhao, we haven't competed for 2 years. Let's practice. After all, he always bullies me. The students are not good either." Upon hearing this, Zhao Wuji exclaimed, "Brother Guy, don't be fooled by this kid. I didn't even try hard." To be honest, Zhao Wuji really wasn't afraid in the past, but now that Guy Yu is level 82 and has an extra torso soul bone, Zhao Wuji is really no match for Guy Yu. But Flanders on the side was so happy that he couldn't hear what Zhao Wuji said and directly shouted, "Brother Guy, I'm quite stupid." Ma Hongjun was also the target of Zhao Wuji's frequent beatings. Now that he saw his teacher was booing him, he shouted at the top of his lungs, "Teacher Guy, if you beat him, I will support you too." When Zhao Wuji saw the two masters and apprentices making noises, he silently charged all the charges to Ma Hongjun. Of course, it's not that he can't beat Flanders, it's because Flanders is the dean and he is just the deputy dean, so he can't commit the following crimes. Looking at the booing Flanders and Ma Hongjun, Guy Yu chuckled, placed Oscar in his seat, tapped his toes, and came directly 5 meters in front of Zhao Wuji. One thing about Shrek Academy that is worthy of praise is its large space. Although there is no courtyard in the cafeteria, it is more than 80 meters wide, which is enough for the two of them to compete. Seeing that he couldn't escape, Zhao Wuji had no choice but to say, "Okay, I've been sparring for a long time, and I just want to have some fun with you today." Frost Moon. Guy Yu didn't talk nonsense to Zhao Wuji. He only heard him groan, and a long sword appeared in his right hand. The sword is 4 feet 6 inches long and 3 inches wide. It is completely snow white. The blade is dotted with ice blue as magnificent as ice crystals, as if it were cast from a piece of 10,000 years of ice. Oscar could feel the sharpness and coldness of this sword just by looking at it. Obviously, Guy Yu's sword spirit was not only good at killing, but also had ice attributes. Perhaps this was why he looked so cold. At this time, Flanders also explained, "This is Brother Guy's martial spirit, Frost Moon Sword. Although it cannot compete with the 7 Kills sword, which is known as the best sword martial spirit in the world, it is definitely the top sword martial art. Soul. As Guy Yu's martial soul was released, 8 gorgeous soul rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 4 black, slowly rose up on his body, and then converged inward. Obviously Guy Yu didn't intend to use soul skills, after all, this was just a competition, and if he and Zhao Wuji completely let go of the fight, Shrek Academy would probably be destroyed by them. Facing Guy Yu who had released his martial spirit, Zhao Wuji was not to be outdone. He slapped his chest with both hands and let out a deafening roar. He saw 2 yellow, 2 purple and 3 black slowly rising up on his body, and his body was covered with a thick layer of brown fur, and a pair of big hands turned into thick, strong bare paws. The soul ring converged, and Zhao Wuji rushed directly towards Guy Yu. Facing Guy Yu who was stronger than him, Zhao Wuji naturally wanted to seize the opportunity, but Guy Yu didn't show any signs of movement, and he could only be heard saying lightly, "Xiao Ao, this is your first lesson." As soon as he finished speaking, Guy Yu held the Frost Moon sword in his hand and faced Zhao Wuji who was charging towards him and slashed in the air. A sharp pure white sword energy suddenly flew out and slashed towards Zhao Wuji with a powerful attack. Oscar stared at Guy Yu intently. This sword aura was completely different from Guy Yu's previous double-pointed sword. The sword aura from his martial soul was no less powerful than using an attacking soul skill. Fortunately, Zhao Wuji was not a fool. Facing this sword energy slash, he smacked the bare paw in his hand fiercely, not only blocking the sword energy, but also directly smashing it into pieces. But before Zhao Wuji could be proud, the Frost Moon sword in Guy Yu's hand had already fluttered several times, and in just an instant, dozens of sharp sword energy slashes were sent out. Zhao Wuji did not dare to be careless at this time. His mane vibrated. His body was like a spinning top, and his thick bare paws kept hitting the sword. Energy one after another. Although Zhao Wuji could smash a sword energy with every attack, every contact with the sword energy slashing made his bare paws feel a stinging pain. He even couldn't dodge because there was too much sword energy. 2 of them the sword energy struck him directly, cutting off most of his thick mane. Fortunately, Guy Yu did not act harshly, otherwise Zhao Wuji would inevitably be injured. I saw Guy Yu sending out sword energy to attack Zhao Wuji and saying to Oscar, "This is the most basic ability of a swordsman, and it is also the core ability. The following attacks can only be performed by perfectly combining the sword with oneself. Watch out for your sword moves." Hearing Guy Yu's words, he rushed towards Zhao Wuji with his long sword in hand. The long sword in his hand rotated, and the fierce momentum suddenly surged, and the endless sword power was like a rainbow. The third form of Frost Moon sword technique, frost blooms all over the sky. In just an instant, Guy Yu had already drawn his sword dozens of times, and endless sword shadows were flying in the sky. Looking at Zhao Wuji, a layer of mane had been shaved off his body, and there were even traces of ice. Obviously, the previous sword Chi Guy Yu did not use the ice attribute of the martial soul, but the current sword move did. Zhao Wuji tried his best to resist. Although he was not injured, all his mane was shaved off, which made him a little embarrassed. "Brother Guy, it's not like this to vent your anger on Xiao Ao. How should I, old Zhao, meet people?" Zhao Wuji sighed helplessly. However, Guy Yu just smiled slightly, withdrew his martial spirit and turned to look at Oscar. "How is it?" Oscar chuckled, "The teacher is so handsome. But although I understand it, I still can't use it now. It takes time." Hearing this, Guy Yu automatically ignored Oscar's praise and just expressed surprise at Oscar's next sentence. Oscar only understood it after reading it once. He had been looking at it for a full hour. "Please collect, recommend and vote for me monthly. Happy New Year. New Year brings new atmosphere. Brothers are cute and reading, and vote. The Fire Brothers are cute." Chapter 26 Intention. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. The reason why Oscar was able to see clearly was that in addition to his talent, there was also the foundation he had laid by his hard work and study in the past 2 months. Sword Chi can be said to be a compulsory course for a swordsman, but in addition to using soul skills, soul masters in Douluo Continent must at least reach the Soul King realm before they can use Sword Chi as a common attack method. Only those with extraordinary talents can reach the Soul Sect realm. Just like Guy Yu himself, he only mastered sword energy after breaking through to the soul sect realm, and the last sword move that Guy Yu just displayed can be called a self-created soul skill for a sword soul master, and it is also the most suitable move for him, and is sometimes used more than soul skills. It's just that most soul masters are unable to create their own soul skills. Looking at the entire soul master world, there are only a few people with this talent. Oscar is not surprised that Guy Yu has such strength. After all, Guy Yu is a genius who broke through to the Contra level at the age of 45. After hearing Oscar's words, Guy Yu came to Oscar and was very satisfied with his answer. Don't worry, with your qualifications, you will definitely be better than me. If your martial spirit is also a sword, with your talent, you might also be a sword Douluo in the future. This is undoubtedly Guy Yu's greatest compliment to Oscar. After all, in the entire Soul Master world, the title of number 1 in swordsmanship is Sword Douluo, and the Chen family, who inherited the 7 kills sword, has been in this position for a long time. Of course, there was a hint of regret in Guy Yu's words, that is, although Oscar had good talent in swordsmanship, he did not possess a sword spirit after all. Although his external soul bone will continue to grow as he grows in the future, even reaching the 100,000-year level, which can be comparable to a title Douluo level weapon soul, after all, he will not be able to attach a soul ring to use soul skills. It will be weaker on top. However, Guy Yu, who had learned about Oscar's soul skills, didn't have too many regrets about this. After all, as a food-type soul master, Oscar's ability to do this was already astonishing. If Oscar in the future can become very accomplished in swordsmanship, then his own martial soul will be able to help him become a powerful soul master. Teacher is very complimentary. The students will work hard to move closer to this goal. Oscar accepted it humbly and answered very sincerely. Guy Yu nodded. I will have a good rest today, and I will start practicing with my master tomorrow. Yes. Later, Oscar took Guy Yu to get familiar with the college and organized a dormitory for him. Zhao Wuji, on the other hand, looked at Flanders with a bitter look on his face, and Flanders couldn't help but chuckle. Now Xiao Ao has someone to support him. You, please take it easy. Ma Hongjun didn't dare to laugh now, but old Zhao wouldn't let him go so easily. I only heard Zhao Wuji say to Ma Hongjun, Hongjun, it's time to digest after eating. Come and let me practice with you. Ah. Ma Hongjun also had a bitter look on his face when he heard this, even more bitter than Zhao Wuji's face just now. Flanders was quite happy about this. He was smoking a cigar and giving instructions to Ma Hongjun, telling him how to make reasonable use of the advantages of his martial arts spirit, but just now he was making fun of and mocking Zhao Wuji louder than Flanders. Old Zhao was furious and beat Ma Hongjun until his nose was bruised and his face was swollen. He yelled, 30 years to the east of the river, 30 years to the west of the river, don't bully young people into poverty. It's just that the more Ma Hongjun behaved, the harder Zhao Wuji beat him. After all, it was Oscar who said this in the first place, and he explained it to him thoughtfully. When Ma Hongjun says this now, doesn't he mean that although he can't beat Lao Zhao now, he will definitely beat him back in the future? With Ma Hongjun's talent, it is natural to surpass Lao Zhao in the future, so since you are going to beat me back, why don't I beat you hard now that you have no strength? Oscar took Guy Yu around the academy and found that Guy Yu's favorite was the peach grove on the east side, so he chose Guy Yu's residence here. Guy Yu was naturally satisfied. After all, he also liked peace and quiet. Being able to have such a quiet and beautiful place really made him very satisfied. When Oscar took him to get familiar with the academy, Guy Yu also chatted with Oscar. Although this disciple behaved more maturely than ordinary people, Guy Yu also wanted to know more about Oscar. It was only when Guy Yu asked about Oscar's parents that he finally understood why Oscar was so mature at just 9 years old. Originally, Guy Yu planned to visit Oscar's parents. After all, he was now Oscar's teacher and could be considered half a father, but when Oscar answered him that his parents died when he was 3 years old and he grew up eating hundreds of meals, Guy Yu discovered that this disciple seemed to have something in common with him, but what he didn't expect was that another student, Ma Hongjun, was like Oscar. He had lost his parents a long time ago and grew up eating hundreds of meals, while Flanders was lucky enough to find these 2 golden nuggets. However, Oscar was not too sad about this, but was relieved. After all, Oscar only traveled through time when he was 6 years old, so he really couldn't empathize with it. Besides, 3-year-old Oscar is so young and doesn't understand anything, so naturally he doesn't have too many sad emotions. That night, Oscar got a blue-covered book from Guy Yu. It was the sword manual passed down by Guy Yu's family, called Frost Moon Sword Technique. Since he planned to give everything he had to others, Guy Yu naturally wouldn't hide anything, so he directly gave Oscar what he had at the bottom of the box. Although Oscar is not yet able to practice, it is good for him to get familiar with it first. According to Guy Yu, although the sword manual is advanced, it is all about practicing its form. If a real swordsman wants to become a master, it is not enough to rely solely on the sword manual. Take Guy Yu himself as an example. Although he has learned Xuanyue's sword technique since he was a child, his sword moves now only have the form of Xuanyue's sword technique. The real meaning is something he practiced based on his own characteristics. This meaning is the most profound sword intention in the way of swordsmanship. With the body as a sword, the sword is hidden in the heart. At night, Oscar held Xuanyue's sword technique and studied it. This sword technique has a total of 9 styles, 9 of which are divided into 27 sword moves. The 81 chapters of sword techniques not only cover the beginning and end of the sword, but also clearly explain how to practice the sword. In fact, as long as Oscar learns this swordsmanship, he can be called a master of swordsmanship. But if he wants to become a real swordsman, Oscar must realize his own intention, which is the sword intention, and a genius like Guy Yu only realized his own sword intention after breaking through level 70. Even Chen Xian, who was as powerful as the current master of swordsmanship, was said to have only realized his intention when he reached level 60. So it can be seen that practicing swordsmanship is not something that can be achieved in one fell swoop. Even if you are talented, you still need to study hard and practice hard to see the true meaning. Although Oscar has talent, he still does not slack off, because he also knows that true strength is made of 1% talent and 99% hard work. It's just that the 1% talent of those gifted people cannot be possessed by ordinary people. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me monthly. Chapter 27. Those who are close to the red will be red, and they will go to the sea. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Oscar held the blue leather sword manual and studied it until late into the night. After reading the sword manual, Oscar was much more impressed by the swordsmanship and kendo, and he also understood the difficulty of it, and this only strengthened Oscar's inner determination to practice swordsmanship. After all, there are many swordsmen who are handsome. After putting down the sword manual, Oscar practiced for another 2 hours, and his energy had returned to its peak. At 6 o'clock in the morning, he walked out of the dormitory in high spirits. Oscar practiced by himself for half an hour as usual, and then went to the cafeteria with Ma Hongjun for breakfast. Now Ma Hongjun is also as diligent as Oscar and is not lazy. After the two had breakfast, Ma Hongjun went to the classroom to take the theory class of teacher Lu Qibin, while Oscar went to Taolin Gaiyue's residence in the east. When Oscar came to Taolin courtyard, Guy Yu was already dancing his sword in the yard. Oscar consciously watched quietly from the side, trying to understand the meaning of the teacher's sword skills. It's just that the sword's intention can only be understood and cannot be expressed in words. So Oscar couldn't understand it for a while, but he just felt that every move Guy Yu made had a natural feeling. It was as if Guy Yu was not dancing with a sword, but that he was a sword himself. This just confirms what Guy Yu said to Oscar yesterday, that the sword is hidden in the heart. It is both a man and a sword. This is the combination of man and sword. It's just that Guy Yu said that he had only achieved a small amount of success on this road. If he wanted to become a real swordsman, this was not enough. Guy Yu's current goal is Kendo Chinshin. Oscar's current goal is not that lofty. His goal is to catch up with the teacher first, and then take a step further. After a long time, the sword stopped. Oscar poured a cup of tea for Guiyue from the stone table nearby. Guiyue took a sip, then handed the teacup to Oscar and said, "How do you feel?" Oscar took the teacup and commented objectively, "Not bad. I don't know how long it will take me to reach this level." Guy Yu smiled when he heard this. "That depends on your talent and perseverance." Guy Yu straightened his clothes and then said calmly, "Let's start your first lesson now." After hearing this, Oscar sat quietly cross-legged in the center of the courtyard and listened to Guy Yu's teachings. Oscar, who had just turned 9, started his first real kendo lesson. From today on, Oscar will still spend half an hour exercising every day after getting up. After breakfast, he will practice swordsmanship. Frosty Moon's sword manual is the main thing Oscar learns in class now. Starting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Yu will personally instruct Oscar in swordsmanship, and the master and apprentice will conduct actual combat drills. After 5 o'clock, Oscar will study pharmacology and prepare his own medicine using the medicinal materials he purchased. After dinner at 6 o'clock, Yu would ask Oscar to summarize the day's kendo gains, and then raise some questions for Oscar to study on. Oscar still focuses on training at night, and he will still make sausages for the first and second soul skills every day until his soul power is exhausted. The purpose of this is not only to allow Oscar to become familiar with his soul skills, but also to allow him to become familiar with the intensity of his soul power through the continuous consumption, which will also improve his training speed. After the penance began, Oscar followed a daily routine. How many tasks must be completed every day before he would be satisfied? In order to strive for excellence, Oscar himself even raised the requirements, which made Yu marvel. Yu even praised him in front of Oscar, saying that if he had had Oscar's perseverance, his current achievements would definitely be even higher. In Yu's eyes, accepting Oscar as his disciple may be the most correct decision he has ever made in his life, because he found that watching Oscar practice, it actually affected him. He found that his efforts that he thought were enough before were still far behind, so unknowingly, Yu himself was working harder than before. And worked hard. In fact, it's not just Yu, Flanders, Zhao Wuji and others have also felt this way for a long time. After all, in just 3 years from Oscar's admission to now, Flanders' soul power has almost exceeded level 77. And Zhao Wuji is also about to break through the 75th level. And if we look at it according to the original work, Tang San and the others entered Shrek when Oscar was 14 years old, that is, there were still 5 years left, and in the original work 5 years later Flanders would only be level 78, and Zhao Wuji would also be at level 78. Only level 76, but now that they are almost reaching this level, perhaps just because of Oscar's small efforts and hard work, the entire Shrek will have a huge change. Perhaps this means that those who are close to vermilion are red, and those who are close to ink are black. And just when Oscar began to focus on kendo, Flanders, who had searched for whale gum to no avail, finally made the decision to take the teachers from Shrek Academy into the sea. Flanders and the others have seen the special uses of whale glue from Oscar, and they are naturally very excited about this. After all, Oscar has also said that even with Flanders' current strength, as long as the grade of whale gum is enough, which is also of great benefit to them. Moreover, these old men have indeed not exercised their muscles for a while, so they just took this opportunity to go out and practice. As for you, Flanders' decision, even Oscar didn't expect that his little butterfly just flapping its wings would lead to such a huge change in Shrek. After all, this doesn't appear in the original work. However, Oscar also supports this. After all, only in this way can he have enough resources to practice at this time and ensure that his strength will make great progress, and only by laying a good foundation can we have unlimited possibilities in the future. And the most important thing is that Oscar knows that no one will come to Shrek to sign up now. Although it is not the registration time, the people Oscar is referring to here are not others, but the Shrek 7 monsters in the original work. As for the Shrek 7 devils in the original book, apart from Oscar himself and Hongjun, Dai Mubai, who is the first to arrive, will not arrive until 2 years later, so it is not harmful for them to be away for a few months now. However, before leaving, Oscar still had a conversation with Flender. That is, the itinerary does not need to be kept secret, but the purpose must be kept secret, because no one knows how to use whale glue. If it is exposed, not only will they receive attention, but also the follow-up. Maybe this thing will be monopolized by big forces, making it impossible for them to obtain it. As for Flender, as a top profiteer, Oscar actually knew this even if he didn't say it, because ever since he learned about the special properties of whale glue, he had secretly investigated it secretly. Then he discovered that this thing has only one use now, and that is to aphrodisiac, and the other things have not been developed at all. It is precisely because of this that Flanders plans to take advantage of the fact that no one knows how to use this thing, and now that there are still many resources, he will scavenge as much as possible to use it to improve himself. It's just that although he is a soul saint, he has too few connections. He is only familiar with Soto City. However, He doesn't deal with the city lord of Soto City, so he cannot get more information about whale glue. And Flanders is not stupid. Naturally, it is impossible for him to buy whale glue in a big way. After all, he has no problems in that regard. If he, a soul saint, goes to buy whale gum in a big way, it will definitely attract the attention of interested people, so Flanders has been searching secretly, and he also forged a false identity that was not good at that, so he didn't gain much after so long, so now Flanders decided to take Shrek and everyone out to hunt for it themselves, and with Shrek's current strength, they would have a chance to try out even 10,000-year-old whale glue. After all, now there is Guy Yu, a level 82. Soul Douluo powerhouse, plus 2 soul saints, Flanders and Zhao Wuji, and 3 soul emperors, Xiao Xian, Lu Qibin, and Li Yusong. This lineup is definitely luxurious enough. Moreover, Xiao Xian is also a food-based soul emperor whose cultivation is close to that of a soul saint, which can greatly improve their combat effectiveness and battery life. So 1 month after Oscar's birthday, Shrek and the others set off. Without any fanfare, they disguised themselves as ordinary people and left the village, heading towards a coastal city. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me monthly. Brother Meng, use your little hands to make a fortune, read a little bit, and cast a monthly vote. Thank you. Chapter 28 Deep Sea Blue Whale Group. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Soto City is located in the southwest of the Tiando Empire. It is at least a month's journey from the nearest large seaside city, Hongjun City. However, it is naturally impossible to waste most of the time on the road during this trip, so after leaving Soto City, the group of people used their soul power to rush on their way, and it took only a week to arrive at Hongjun City. On the way, when Hongjun and Oscar couldn't keep up with the speed of this group of teachers who were at least soul emperors, their respective teachers would lead the way with their apprentices. Flanders took Hongjun with him, and Guy Yu took Oscar with him. Although the journey was long, it was indeed uncomfortable along the way, so after arriving at Hongjun City, everyone found a luxury hotel to rest for 2 days, and then set off after preparing supplies for the voyage, because everyone's goal this time was to hunt powerful whale-like sea soul beasts that could produce whale glue. They spent 100,000 gold soul coins to buy a small ship. The ship was also equipped with some offensive and defensive weapons, including all facilities are well equipped. Moreover, they were equipped with many soul guides, some large and some small, and it took almost half of Xiao Xian and Oscar's savings from auctioning jelly beans and sausages in the past 3 years. However, it will take at least 2 months for them to go to sea this time. So in order to ensure that there are no unexpected delays in the journey, it is worthwhile to do so. Before this, Flanders and the others had carefully studied the distribution and strength of some sea soul beasts, and this time they had done enough planning. They only needed to go to the preset destination. As long as they encounter a suitable whale spirit beast, they can directly hunt it. Of course, there are some places that they dare not go to, such as the territory of the 100,000-year-old sea soul beast, such as the territory of the deep-sea demonic whale king, known as the overlord of the ferocious beasts of the deep sea, and the territory of the evil demonic orca king group. Before going to sea, Flanders hired a captain and 3 boatmen. Because the boat was semi-automatic, it didn't need too many people. In addition, Flanders didn't want to be exposed, so the fewer people, the better. 2 days later, everyone set off by boat after finishing their rest. The areas where cetacean sea soul beasts move are basically in deeper waters, so it took everyone a full week to reach the first nearest preset place. Although they encountered many sea soul beasts during this week, they did not have a target they were interested in, so this trip has yielded nothing so far. But now that they have reached the first preset destination, everyone is no longer worried about not gaining anything. There is a group of deep-sea blue whales living in this place. According to the drama data, there are about 50 deep-sea blue whales living in this area to form a group, and the strongest leader among them is most likely to be a 10,000-year-old being. After arriving in this area, Flanders took on the role of a scout. He would go out to look for traces of the deep-sea blue whale. If it was determined that he could take action, then all the Shrek troops would go there and capture it with thunderous force. Now Flanders' soul power is close to level 76. With the flying ability and special vision of the cat-eagle spirit, Flanders discovered the traces of the group of deep-sea blue whales in just 3 days. Flanders then took the initiative to attack this group of deep-sea blue whales, causing the other party to launch a counterattack. He finally determined the number and specific strength of this group before returning to the ship. According to the information brought back by Flanders, the specific number of deep-sea blue whales in this group is 41, and the strongest one among them, the leader of this group of deep-sea blue whales, has a cultivation level of more than 23,000 years. In addition to the leader, this group also has 3 10,000-year level beings. In addition to these 4 10,000-year level beings, there are fully 15 of them with cultivation levels of more than 5,000 years, and the remaining 2 the cultivation level of the 12 heads is below 5,000 years. Flanders comprehensively compared the strength of this deep-sea blue whale group with their Shrek's combat effectiveness. This leader, Flanders, can solve it by himself, because although the sea soul beast is stronger than the land soul beast in the sea, his cat-eagle also has a good suppressing effect on the sea soul beast. The other 3,000-year-old beings can be dealt with by Zhao Wuji, Lu Qibin and Li Yusong respectively. Needless to say, Zhao Wuji has no problem with his soul power approaching level 75 against a sea soul beast that is over 10,000 years old. Although Li Yusong and Lu Qibin may not be able to win in a duel, they have the blessing of Xiao Xian's jelly beans. You will never lose. There is absolutely no problem in leaving the remaining dozens of sea soul beasts that are no more than 1,000 years old to Guy Yu alone, because not only does Guy Yu have soul power that has reached level 82, but his Frost Moon Sword spirit also possesses powerful ice attribute ability. With the bonus of ice attributes, fighting at sea can actually give him more room for maneuver. That's right, they just plan to take over this deep-sea blue whale group directly. Without him, they are strong enough. The reason why he can distinguish his opponents in this way is precisely because Guy Yu has the ability to divide the battlefield, allowing this group of soul beasts to be separated and then defeated one by one. Otherwise, if dozens of sea soul beasts unite together, they may not be opponents. After all, this is their home court and has home field advantage. After making the adjustment plan, everyone immediately chose to attack, because for nearly 2 months before this, Xiao Xian had been making various soul skill jelly beans, and Oscar had also made a lot of sausages, and he had already made logistical preparations. Because this group is so powerful, there is no need for Oscar, Hongjun and Xiao Xian to go, otherwise Flanders and the others would need to be distracted to protect them. However, in order to observe this battle of strong men, Oscar still planned to drive the ship near their battlefield, hide and watch secretly. If you find something is wrong, you can immediately change course and run away. The maneuverability of ships is still guaranteed at sea. As for the 3 ordinary people, the captain and the 2 other boatmen, just let them hide in the cab when the time comes. If there is a problem, they can just drive away. Although Oscar also wanted to join the war, he still knew better. Even though his soul power had broken through another level in the past 2 months, reaching level 24, but with his current strength, he could only fight a 100-year-old deep-sea demon whale once at most. So facing a battle of this scale, he still chose to develop in a humble way. After determining the target, the group of people drove the ship and set off. When they were more than 1,000 meters away from the deep-sea blue whale territory, the ship stopped looking at a small island. Guy Yu and Flanders took off directly into the sky and headed towards a group of deep-sea blue whales swept away. Although none of them are titled Douluo, they are at least at the Soul Emperor level. With their deep soul power, there is no problem in running across the sea for short distances. Of course, everyone did not do this, because there was a sword under their feet, which was Guy Yu's Frost Moon Sword. Although Guy Yu cannot be called a swordsman, he is not inferior at all. He summoned his Frost Moon Sword martial spirit. With the activation of the soul power, the Frost Moon Sword instantly rose to 10 meters. Everyone stood it flew directly on the sword. Guy Yu did not use the martial spirit avatar. This giant sword was just a giant sword made by Frost Moon Sword and using the ice attribute ability stimulated by soul power. The consumption of soul power was almost negligible. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me monthly. Chapter 29 A Great Harvest. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. The ice blue giant sword flew across the sky, and in just a moment it had reached the territory of the deep-sea blue whale group. because they were attacked by Flanders 2 days ago. The deep-sea blue whale group was still on alert at this time. Faced with this sudden and terrifying pressure, the entire group instantly boiled. The black seventh soul rings on Flanders and Zhao Wuji's bodies were instantly lit up, and the two of them used their strongest soul skills as soon as they came up. A cat eagle with a wingspan of more than 10 meters and a giant bear with a height of more than 8 meters suddenly appeared, and the terrifying soul pressure poured out, once again bringing terrifying pressure to the entire deep-sea blue whale group. Following the cry of an eagle, Flanders transformed into a golden cat eagle and saw the soul power surge on his body. He suddenly shot out countless golden feathers. Each feather was like a blade, directed towards the entire deep-sea blue whale. The tribe attacked and left. The giant bear transformed by Zhao Wuji also had soul power, and a terrifying pressure suddenly fell on the group of deep-sea blue whales, greatly hindering their movements. At the same time, the black sixth soul ring on Lu Qibin's body lit up, and he suddenly threw out a matrix chessboard in his hand. Under the influence of the soul skill, the chessboard instantly became extremely huge, and was divided into several areas, covering the entire deep sea. The blue whale group is surrounded and divided. Just when Lu Qibin's control was taking shape, Guy Yu held the frost moon sword in his hand, and the black fifth soul ring on his body also lit up. The fifth soul skill, Frozen Sword Dance. With the release of the soul skill, the frost moon sword in Guy Yu's hand instantly slashed out several terrifying ice sword energies, which directly reinforced the ice matrix formed by Lu Qibin's sixth soul skill, completely forming a huge ice cage. As the cage was formed, Flanders directly faced the leader of the 23,000-year-old deep-sea blue whale. Zhao Wuji, Lu Qibin and Li Yusong also each chose a 10,000-year-old deep-sea blue whale to start the battle. The speed of everyone was too fast, and the attacks were too swift. In just a few breaths, more than a dozen thousand-year-old deep-sea blue whales were killed by Flanders and Zhao Wuji's first wave of attacks. It's just that the deep-sea blue whales are too large, and most of the attacks are resisted by the dozen or so deep-sea blue whales that have been killed, allowing the remaining deep-sea blue whales time to react. At this time, the leader of the deep-sea blue whale let out an angry cry. Its huge tail slapped violently on the sea, and a terrifying wave instantly hit everyone, but before the wave could get close to everyone, Guy Yu swung his sword again, and the entire huge wave was completely frozen. This was the power of Guy Yu's fifth soul skill. Quick victory! Guy Yu shouted low, and swung the frost moon sword in his hand several times. This time, countless sword energy slashes were directed at those 1,000-year level deep-sea blue whales. Xiao Xian, who was watching Guy Yu and the others fighting from a distance, said to Oscar and Hongjun beside him, Xiao Ao, Hongjun, this is also a lesson you need to remember. No matter who the enemy you face, as long as the opponent is still, if you have the strength to resist, then you must go all out. Oscar and Hongjun nodded, understood. However, watching Guy Yu's battle, Oscar found that Flanders and the others were too conservative before. Not to mention Guy Yu, a pervertedly powerful existence. I am afraid that even Flanders and the others could take down the entire deep-sea blue whale ethnic group. Only a quarter of an hour had passed, and the entire group of deep-sea blue whales had been eliminated. Dozens of huge deep-sea blue whale bodies were floating on the sea. Dozens of soul rings of different colors slowly emerged. Yellow, there are purple and black ones. After the battle was over, even Flanders couldn't help but look at Guy Yu with admiration. He originally thought that he thought highly enough of Guy Yu, but he didn't expect that this battle would be so easy. Without him, Guy Yu's strength would be ridiculously strong. So is it worthy of saying that he killed a 70,000-year-old soul beast alone with his 80th level soul power? But now is not the time to be happy. Everyone didn't say much. They each took out the jelly beans prepared in advance and ate them to restore their soul power. At the same time, they directly put the bodies of the deep-sea blue whales into the soul guides, cleaned up the battlefield in just 5 minutes, and then returned to the ship. After everyone returned, the ship sailed away from this place to prevent powerful soul beasts from being attracted by the smell of blood. After all, there are 2 young geniuses, Oscar and Hongjun, on the ship. Although they are extremely talented, they are too weak now. so they must be protected. Back on the ship, everyone counted the harvest. 4 deep-sea demon whales were at the 10,000-year level, 15 were at the 5,000-year level or above, and 18 of the remaining 22 were between 1,000 and 5,000 years old. Only 4 are at the century level. It has to be said that the strength of this deep-sea blue whale group is quite good, and they have gained so much in one go. However, after taking inventory, Flanders discovered that half of the storage soul guides they brought had been used, because the size of deep-sea blue whales is so large, they basically reach 10 meters. Among them, the size of the 4,000-year-old existences reaches more than 15 meters. In the current situation, it was naturally impossible to spend more time to go back and buy a new storage soul guide, so after thinking about it, they decided to throw away the deep-sea blue whale body that was less than 5,000 years old, as long as the whale glue was in it. Those with cultivation levels above 5,000 years can be brought back. Not only can they be auctioned, but they will also be of the highest quality as ingredients. As they headed towards the next preset destination, they dissected the deep-sea blue whale and harvested 4 pieces of whale gum with a 10,000-year-old grade, 15 pieces of whale gum with a 5,000-year-old grade and above, and 22 pieces of 5,000-year-old whale gum. Below grade level, originally, Flanders planned to store the whale glue first, but Oscar suggested that they could take it directly. As long as each of them's physical fitness reached the current limit, they would no longer need to continue hunting sea soul beasts. After all, judging from this battle, with a strong man like Guy Yu leading the team, as long as they can find a suitable target, their harvest will definitely not be bad. However, if you keep doing this, it will be a waste of those soul rings. So after trying to reconcile, Flanders still listened to Oscar's advice. After all, Oscar knows that taking whale glue does not always have an effect. Once it reaches a certain limit, no matter how much you take after that, the effect will be minimal. Oscar's suggestion was not because of how kind he was, but because he knew that soul beasts were becoming increasingly rare. If they were hunted extensively, the soul beast group might become extinct in the future. Although they can't save many soul beasts by doing this now, it's all about their hearts and their actions. As long as they do it, it's good to seek psychological comfort. The final distribution of this batch of whale glue was discussed together by everyone. Guy Yu took the piece of whale glue that was more than 23,000 years old. Flanders, Zhao Wuji, and Lu Qibin each took a piece of whale glue that was over 10,000 years old. The remaining whale glue that was over 5,000 years old was given to Li Yusong, and Xiao Xian also gave it to Li Yusong. There are Oscar and Ma Hongjun taking them. The process of taking whale gum is not difficult. What is difficult is how to refine whale gum. However, Oscar has already told everyone the method, so it is not a secret to them. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me monthly. Chapter 30 Huge Improvement, Ma Hongjun's Second Soul Ring. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The process of absorbing and refining whale glue lasted for a full month. The reason why it lasted so long was because everyone in Shrek had received a huge improvement. Among them, Guyu's physical fitness has not only been improved, but his soul power has also broken through from level 82 to level 83. Not only Guyu, but also everyone in Shrek's soul power broke through the first level because this was the first time they absorbed refined whale glue. This promotion made everyone excited, but because they were all already at least Soul Emperor experts, even though the quantity of this batch of whale glue was quite large, Guyu, who was at Soul Saint level and above, could not. Rand and Zhao Wuji still have not reached their limit, but 41 pieces of whale glue were consumed by them. Even Oscar did not expect that so much whale glue would be consumed. Moreover, the teacher, Flanders, and Zhao Wuji had not yet reached the limit. However, this also confirmed that the talents of the three of them were indeed powerful. Now that he has absorbed a piece of whale glue that is over 20,000 years old and several pieces of whale glue that are over 5,000 years old, Guyu's physical fitness has reached the level of a title Douluo from level 83. The physical fitness of Flanders and Zhao Wuji has also reached at least level 85. Xiao Xian, Lu Qibin, Li Yusong, Oscar, and Ma Hongjun have all reached their current limits, and they will not gain much from taking whale gum later. Now Oscar's physical fitness has surpassed the previous limit, reaching at least the 45th level of the Soul Sect, and Ma Hongjun's physical fitness has also reached around level 30, it can be said that the two young geniuses did not exert much power, but the benefits were not lacking at all. After a full month of rest, everyone set sail again and continued to hunt soul beasts. However, although they had a huge harvest this time, they also had a lot of regrets. That is, the entire group of deep-sea blue whales did not explode a soul bone. This was really bad luck, but it doesn't matter. After all, the purpose of their trip has been achieved. Now they only need to make a final effort before they can return to the academy. In the process of searching for the next target, Oscar and Ma Hongjun were not idle. Under the protection of a group of teachers, the two challenged some century-old sea soul beasts to hone their strength when they had nothing to do. Half a month later, after sparing several relatively weak groups of sea soul beasts, Gaiyu locked onto a 50,000-year-old sawtoothed demonic whale. This sawtoothed demonic whale acted alone and fed on its own kind. It was just right. It gave everyone the opportunity to take action. Oscar and Ma Hongjun had a great time watching the battle. With the joint efforts of Gaiyu and several of them, the saw-toothed demon whale was killed by Gaiyu with one sword, and then he was packed away without even sparing his body. With the whale glue provided by this saw-toothed demon whale, it was enough for Gaiyu, Flender, and Zhao Wuji, so Shrek and the others started their return journey. On the way back, Gaiyu and the others took action and killed dozens of whale-like sea spirit beasts that were over 5,000 years old. This is Flender's decision. After all, Oscar and Ma Hongjun are not necessarily the only people in Shrek's future. He also needs to make some preparations for the students behind him. However, whale glue is too precious, and this secret must not be exposed, so Flanders is still cautious enough. Only if the future students can truly integrate into Shrek, he will give him the treasure of whale gum, otherwise he would rather rot in his stomach. After all, once this thing is exposed, it will not be good for them. Shrek, after all, as long as the value of this thing is not exposed, their Shrek Academy can use it to cultivate more geniuses in the future, geniuses that belong only to their Shrek. Oscar doesn't care about this, after all, it doesn't conflict with his interests. It took a full month for Shrek and his party to return to Shrek Academy in the Kingdom of Barak. The trip took nearly 4 months, but the harvest was obvious to all, especially Gaiyu, Flanders, and Zhao Wuji. After they absorbed the whale glue from the sawtooth demon whale on the way back, their respective physical fitness reached the limit. Although the soul power has not been improved again, it has laid a solid foundation for their subsequent cultivation, and it has also greatly improved their strength. In the past 4 months, Oscar's swordsmanship has also made great progress. He has been able to skillfully use various sword moves based on the Frost Moon sword manual, and his actual combat ability has been greatly improved. Oscar, who is now level 24, is confident that he will break through level 30 before he turns 12, and Ma Hongjun is also confident that he will break through level 20 as soon as possible. After all, Ma Hongjun is already at level 16 now, but he is still less than 8 years old. Maybe he will break through level 20 faster than Oscar. After all, when Oscar was in his 10th level, there was no such thing as whale glue to help him improve his strength. After returning to the academy, Oscar quickly fell silent in his cultivation and did not slack off at all. It is worth mentioning that their daily food now is soul beast meat, because Flanders kept all the rare parts of the dozens of cetacean soul beasts harvested this time, and sold the ones that were of little use. He had already made a lot of money when he returned to the academy. It can be said that today's Shrek Academy is completely different from the original. Not only has the strength of the teachers improved, but because of Oscar, these teachers have also worked harder, and everything is moving in a better direction. Developing, however, Flanders is a good person and does a good job of keeping secrets. In addition, Shrek Academy is not receiving much attention now, so no one knows about the changes in Shrek Academy. Perhaps the only thing I know is that the original shabby village has now become a bit like a paradise, and the teaching environment and conditions have also been greatly improved. A year later, Ma Hongjun, who was still 3 months shy of turning 9, broke through to level 20, at Oscar's suggestion. Flender personally selected a soul beast with Phoenix bloodline for Ma Hongjun, which could alleviate the evil fire problem in Ma Hongjun, because before this, Ma Hongjun, who improved his quality by refining whale gum, encountered an outbreak of evil fire, which made Ma Hongjun uncomfortable to death. Fortunately, Gaiyu was here, and he helped Ma Hongjun make the transition with his powerful ice attribute soul power. Later evil fire outbreaks also relied on Guy Yu's help. However, this situation can only help Ma Hongjun alleviate it, but it cannot make his evil fire disappear. That's why Oscar made such a suggestion. After all, the evil fire phoenix is not a real phoenix, so absorbing the soul ring with the blood of the phoenix can suppress the evil fire to a certain extent, or neutralize Ma Hongjun's evil fire, theoretically speaking, as long as the soul rings absorbed by Ma Hongjun in the future contain phoenix blood, or he hunts a pure-blooded phoenix as a soul ring, then his evil fire can definitely be effectively suppressed even if it cannot be completely eliminated, after obtaining the second soul ring with phoenix bloodline. Ma Hongjun's evil fire was indeed suppressed, making his cultivation much smoother. For this reason, it can be regarded as a solution to Ma Hongjun's evil fire. It is worth mentioning that Ma Hongjun did not choose to absorb a 1,000-year-old soul ring for his second soul ring, but one that was 990 years old. The idea of doing so was the same as Oscar's. After absorbing the soul ring, Ma Hongjun's soul power also reached level 22, which can be regarded as the same achievement as Oscar's. Now Oscar's soul power has reached level 27, but at 10 years and 4 months old, his soul power is close to the soul master level, and he can be said to be the holder of Shrek Academy's new record. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me monthly.